Okay guys, I am back. We're here on the Windows computer. Now, an important thing you want to know is what version of Windows you're going to install. This will judge what ISO you're going to need. If you're doing Windows 8.1 or Windows 8.1 Pro, they're both in the same ISO. But the first thing you're going to want to do is download an ISO. So I just like to Google download Windows 8.1. I apologize for the typos. And you'll see right here a link by Microsoft. Microsoft actually provides Windows 8.1 downloads. So that'll load up, and you'll be able to download the ISO directly from this page. That's one difference from Windows 10. With Windows 10, you need the media creation tool. So go ahead and select your edition here. Pick one of these. This one right here is for Windows 8.1 and Pro. That's what I'm going to be using. Press confirm. Choose your language and stuff. I'm English. Then you'll have these downloads. You're going to want to select 32-bit or 64-bit. I use 64-bit. Most computers are 64-bit these days, but if you know the computer you're going to do it on is 32-bit processor, x86, I do 32-bit. But anyways, for the sake of this video, not to worry guys, I'm not going to make you sit through that. I already have one downloaded. So basically, the next thing you need to get, Hasleo WinDSB. I like to just Google Hasleo WinDSB. Oops, not YouTube. Hasleo WinDSB. You'll get this link by Uefi. Go ahead and just download it. You don't need to pay for it to get it working. For the sake of this, I've already downloaded this. You go ahead and install it too. But right now is the time to plug in your USB. So I'm going to plug it in. There it is, right here. And basically, what you're going to want to do is go ahead and launch Hasleo WinDSB. You will need admin privileges here. So you can't see it on the screen, but I just launched it. But basically, this tool is very helpful. I would highly recommend it. I'm not paying for it, but there's a few other things you can do. You can do it from CD, DVD, system info. If you go to tools up here, there's a lot of other things you can check for updates. That's not really a tool, but you can convert Windows 2 Go to local disk or vice versa. But basically, you're just going to want to leave it set to this. Select your image file here. Now, no, I'm not using Ubuntu. That's just from previous experiment. But I'm doing Windows 8.1. That's the purpose of this video. Now, with Windows 10, it's different, so please stay tuned for my videos on that. But go ahead and select which one. I'm going to do Pro. You're going to select your destination disk. Make sure that this is the model of your USB. Then you're going to select MBR for BIOS or GPT for UEFI. Please note that this option here is not available in the free version. But basically, this is an important thing to consider. If you're not sure, select this one. If you know your computer is newer and supports UEFI, select this one. But note that a BIOS computer, a computer that uses this type of option as a BIOS and doesn't support this, will fail to boot. So if you're unsure, I'm going to select MBR for BIOS because I know that this computer is going to boot it and it will work on pretty much all the computers there are. Like in terms of ones from like 2007, those are usually BIOS. Anything newer than anything 2013 and newer tends to be UEFI. But basically, if you select MBR for BIOS, you can still boot it on a UEFI system. So I'm going to select that, press yes or continue. It's going to go ahead and format it. It does not usually take several minutes. So we're going to sit here and wait for it to format. It won't take that long, but basically it's formatting it, getting it set. And a little side note, an important thing to note about this is that it does not copy all the files directly to your USB. That's kind of what I like about it. Now, maybe performance is a little different because of that, but it's still very helpful because it does everything for you. Basically, what this tool is going to do is it is going to put it in a virtual hard drive, a .vhd file or VHDX if you have the paid version and you want to do that. VHDX is better, but VHD will still work if you have a disk that's not greater than 2 terabytes. But I'm sure you don't have a 2 terabyte USB, so I think we're fine. But basically, it copies all the Windows files to the VHD and makes the USB's root the boot drive. That's like where the boot files, it's where you normally have an EFI system partition. Basically, and then you boot that EFI system partition, or the USB root in this case, and it runs it all from the VHD for you. So I'm pretty sure this thing's probably almost done. If you look in File Explorer, you might freeze up. Be careful of that. So I'm going to close that. But now it's finished. So you can select VHDX if you have it. leave additional drivers blank. If you press next, you'll see it doesn't support VHDX. You're going to want to leave this the size of your USB approximately. So I'm going to select VHD. You leave these as they are, system partition and boot partition. Press next. There you go. It's installing. You can check this box if you want. That's a matter of taste. I'm not going to because I'm going to lose the recording. But basically, this will take an hour or so. So I'll be back when this finishes. But just be patient with this because it can take upwards 30 minutes to like an hour and 30 minutes. I haven't seen it go longer than 2 hours though. So yeah, I'll be right back when this is finished. Hey, what's going on guys? Reed here and I'm back with another tech video. This time we are going to be talking about how to create a Windows 8.1 to-go USB. If you don't know what Windows to-go is, it's basically this thing that was officially tested by Microsoft for Windows 10. And I don't know about Windows 7, but I know it's possible in Windows 7 too. But basically, it allows you to install Windows onto a USB. So basically, let's say I wanted to plug it into this computer right here. If I booted from it, Windows would run entirely from the USB. So it's not to be confused with an install USB. Install USB will install Windows onto a computer. In this case, the Windows is actually on the USB, so you run it from it. This was very helpful in the workplace. That was one reason why Microsoft was using it, because that way, like, it'd make work. Imagine that it'd be making working from home way easier. But it was actually discontinued in Windows 10 2004. So that is the latest version of Windows at the moment, and they discontinued it and removed it. But basically, I do want a quick little note is that Windows 8.1 was not officially tested by Microsoft for this and is not supported. You will not be able to update it to Windows 10 or do any major feature updates to it without wiping it and starting over. That's something to keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is that with Rufus, if you can try this with Rufus. I had no luck with that because most USBs have the removable attribute. It's a hardware attribute and it needs to be fixed. However, so because of this, Rufus, if you do it with Rufus, it'll most likely freeze up during boot. And that's what happened to me. So you can try Rufus if you want, but it probably won't work. So because of this, we're going to be using Hasleo WinUSB, a special tool that you can use. And it's freemium, I think, but it's still got most of it. You're still going to be able to get it running without paying. So you're probably wondering, what kind of USB are you going to want to use? Well, for the sake of this video, since I'm not going to be keeping this long term, I'm going to use a SanDisk Cruiser Blade 64 gigabyte. You're going to want at least 32 gigabytes of space. I recommend 64. But an important note, you're going to want to use USB 3.0. No matter how much space you choose, you probably want a USB 3.0 USB, as that is faster than 2.0. So I'm going to be using a USB 2.0, so that is why it's going to be slow for me. If you use USB 3.0, it'll be way faster. And better yet, if you want to do this on an old version of Windows 10, or maybe you can't use a Windows to-go certified one if you're going to do Windows 10, then definitely you want to use a certified one. You don't have to. Rufus will still work. But if you want to get a certified one, it's certified to be real fast. But anyways, that's for another video. I'm going to record a video for this for Windows 7 and Windows 10. But anyways, once again, just make sure it's USB 3.0. In the description, I'm going to link a SanDisk Ultra 256 gigabyte. However, I use that for backups and stuff at the moment, so I'm just going to use this. To give you an idea of how slow it is, it's going to probably take about 15 minutes to shut down and turn on. That's pretty slow. But anyways, we're going to jump right into this. I'll be right back. Hey guys, I am back. I've ejected the USB from my computer. And the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to boot from this and what settings you need to change if you're using MBR. Well, you won't have to change any if you're using a BIOS system. But how to boot an MBR on a Uefi system. Basically, I'm using my Lenovo IdeaPad P500 here for this. And keep in mind that you shouldn't have to worry about drivers or anything. For those of you wondering, you shouldn't have to worry about drivers when you're using Windows to go. It will install automatically. So first things first, make sure your system is off. I've already done so we're good. Next thing, you're going to plug your USB in. I'm actually going to plug it in on the other side here, just because it's 2.0. Next step is you're going to want to either press the power button and then press the escape key instantly after, or on most Lenovo computers, there's actually a button on the side. But whatever you do to get to your startup menu, you can look up your model if you need to know. I know for this one, I just press the side button right here. Turns itself on. And you get this menu right here. The Lenovo button menu, as it's called in Lenovo systems. So if you're gonna use an MBR and a UEFI, go ahead and select BIOS setup. You'll get this big screen with a bunch of settings. Go ahead and skip all these normal tabs and head to boot. Make sure USB boot is enabled. You're gonna want to set boot mode to legacy support instead of UEFI. Please note you can still boot UEFI with it. See, there's UEFI options right here. Then this is legacy. So basically, you're gonna want to make sure you can set the boot priority to legacy or UEFI, that doesn't matter. But basically, you're gonna want to exit saving your changes. I didn't change anything, so I'm gonna discard. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it back off. So now what you're gonna do is you're gonna get to the back to that startup menu. And this time, select boot menu. You can do this if you're using a BIOS system or if you're using a UEFI on a UEFI system. If it matches, go ahead and just go to boot menu, first thing. Then you're gonna see all these options. These are different boot devices. Some of them are obviously not gonna work, like network boot. But if you're using UEFI, you can select your USB model and it'll say something like SanDisk Cruiser Blade or something, or whatever your USB model is. If it's legacy, it's gonna say USB HDD for hard disk drive. I'm gonna go ahead and select that, and then it should go ahead and boot Windows 2 Go for you. Of course, you're gonna have to set it up like any Windows installation. You're gonna have to set it up first. Now, I am not gonna go through that. This is a slower USB because, USB 2.0 like I mentioned earlier. But basically, you can go ahead and set it up like any Windows installation. A good tip, always make sure to unplug it before you, always make sure to shut it down before you unplug it. Because if you unplug it while it's running, it's just like pulling the plug on a desktop computer over there while it's running. It's not a good thing. So always make sure to do that. And with Hasleo Windy USB, you might get a warning about that. Don't worry about that. You still did it right because it's a VHD, that's why. And another thing, activation. I do want to talk about that a little bit. It's not going to be activated, so you might get an activate Windows warning every now and then. It shouldn't hinder any abilities that you couldn't otherwise do, because besides personalization, you might not be able to change the desktop background and stuff. But if you want to, you can activate it, but I haven't, because since it's changing between computers, it's always changing activation. So yeah, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Everyone, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.